Hello guys, you're welcome to the next episode of Late Friday Night Banter Blitz. So last time when I was wearing this t-shirt, I was quite successful, so I'm not usually a superstitious crap, but well, nowadays it is everything that I can use actually, right? Some superstitions, so this, well, a good t-shirt, right, to play successful games. Let's see how it works today, because, well, everything can happen. I do hope that everything is fine with the quality of the sound and the picture, all right? And let me know if something goes wrong. Okay, so let's get to playing. Today I'm going to start the show playing to the guys I've never played to, so let's have a look if there are some challenges from newcomers to the show, I mean. So this guy I played to, this guy I played to. It doesn't mean that I don't accept challenges from the ones I've already played to. I just want to pick somebody, well, new, right? That's the point. And, well, then I will, of course, come back to regular guests. Okay, so I think I found the one. Accept, let's see. I don't understand what is going on to this challenge because, yeah, it looks like I just accepted it, but it disappeared somehow. Okay, let's accept somebody else. Very strange. Oh no, it didn't disappear. Actually, it is stuck. Well, very strange. Very strange. Well, just a sec. I'm trying to check the internet connection. Everything looks fine, right? Casper is new to Banter Blitz. Well, no. I usually start with Casper. So I don't understand what is going on. So yeah, okay. E4, E5. It was sort of trick. I don't know how did it happen. And central game. Oh no, looks like just something transposed into a normal opening. Knight takes D4. That goes to F6, and it is a Scotch, right? Okay, knight goes to c3, bishop goes to b4. This is the usual reply to this order of moves. B takes c6, and here black usually plays d5. It is possible to do right now. It is possible to do after castling. I usually prefer castling and then playing d5. Castles and d5 now, yeah. Okay. E5, c5. Everything is pretty much standard here. Bishop g5, so usually black reacts with the c6 move, protecting d5. Queen f3, okay. So here, as far as I remember, one good idea just to play bishop to d6, getting back to central position, also opening the b file, because rook usually goes to b8, exerts some pressure on b2 pawn, and maybe even being lifted through the fourth rank. Sometimes so rook b8, rook b4, and then somewhere to g4, h4, well, it depends. Of course, black gives white a chance to damage the pawn structure. It is definitely possible. And, well, in this case, it's better to exchange queens to prevent just a crushing attack. And white definitely has some prospects connected to the weaknesses on the king side. And I have some counterplay based on my pair of bishops, so just kind of more or less equal position in my opinion. What do you think about Hovifan's g4 h3, Andre? Well, I still have no idea why she did that. I understand it was like a protesting activity, but well, I don't understand such a move. Sorry. Rook b8, attacking b2. B3, and now what? White will definitely do something connected to d4 square or maybe g3. There are a lot of different prospects for this knight. And what to do with black pieces? It's possible to come up with a counterplay connected. Well, I say this word connected too many times. Too frequently today. So let's base our counterplay on c5, c4. That's what I want to do here. So at some point I want to play c4, but in many cases I just put the pawn on c5 to control these central squares, so I improve the situation in the center. Right now there is already a threat of knight h5 maybe, which I can parry with bishop to e5, not for a long time maybe. So maybe to occupy e5 right now. Let's occupy it, why not? There's a tempo move, right? Bishop anyway will be needed to protect this f6 pawn. I just do it right now, preventing more or less white's knight h5. It's no longer that dangerous. And now probably I can simply protect this d5 pawn. Also in advance, because it looks like white wants to go away with the bishop somewhere and attack d5. Black has nothing concrete at the moment, no concrete threats. But black has some perspectives, let's say some dynamic play on the queen side. Maybe a5, a4 at some point. As I said before, rook will be quite useful on the first rank, so maybe rook b4 at some point. Now I think bishop d4 should be played, not to lose the time. And now let's see if I have something like a5 or maybe bishop to g4, also an interesting way to play. Maybe h5. Yeah, maybe h5 with the idea of h4. Also quite interesting idea, I don't know. White will probably play knight f5 here. Knight f5, and I don't want to lose my bishop. Okay. Let's try bishop g4. Of course, it's important not to forget about this bishop, because white can probably play f4, f5 and just imprison it. Rook to e1. So now if I play bishop c3, this rook goes where? To e7 maybe. Yeah. So I achieved nothing with this. So let's put the bishop on e6. Okay. This actually, yeah, prepares c4. And if white plays f5, white no longer can exploit this point. So maybe it's not bad for me. So I've lost the tempo, but at the same time I closed f5 square for either bishop and the knights, which looks good. And rook e7, well, what will happen after this? Just attacking the rook. Maybe bishop e5 was just better, right? Closing the way for the rook back to the e file. But after this rook to e5, definitely I think bishop e5 should be played. I don't believe white will have a proper compensation for missing material here. Now what? c4? Or just Just bishop c6. Why should I hurry up with this? I can just protect everything. Yeah, maybe immediate c4 was just faster. I don't know. Now, let's simply exchange the most active piece and the last really dangerous one. So the rook, I think after this, has no problems with the conversion. King h2, okay. So let's blockade pawn f5, again, to prevent white's activity. So the bishop is no longer active, no longer dangerous. The only problem is e6 square, right? Maybe it's not a big deal, of course. So let's put the rook here. And let's say king here. Centralizing the king. Yeah, f6 is hanging. Okay, let's come back. Check. Attack and c2, right? I think there are a lot of different ways to win with black here, but well, let's collect some pawns. The knight also drops. Yeah, that's it. It's over. So, in my opinion, what white did wrong is actually playing f5. f5 was not correct. So instead of playing f5, it was much better to occupy f5 with a minor piece, with the bishop or with the knight. Well, after occupying it with the knight, I think position is tend to be simply drawish, because I don't understand what is going on to you. Yeah. Let's just update the window because it's strange. Okay, it's really strange. So it works very bad. So it doesn't allow me to make moves. Just to show you what I was thinking about the position for the first time, for the first time in my life. So just a sec. Yeah, bishop e6 situation. So here, again, the same. Oh, come on. Okay, so I'm not sure if this problem will go. So my point is that if white plays f5, this only makes bishop d3 passive, right? So it also makes impossible for white to occupy this f5 square with the knights or the bishop in the future. So yeah, now it moves. Knight f5 was better, in my opinion, or bishop to f5, also a good move. So trying to use this square, so not to make it dead for your pieces, right? Knight f5, bishop f5, bishop f5. You have a great bishop attacking some pawns in my camp. You have interesting options of lifting the rook through the third rank to attack my h7. So yeah, at very least it is just equal, right? But maybe you still have some chances to exert some pressure. That's my opinion, because after f5, well, I was feeling quite good. So I played bishop d7. I still have bishop spare, right? And well, you no longer have this active play because my only probably well, vulnerable pawn is f6, which is protected by the bishop. And yeah, rook e7 is another mistake. So here I could have played bishop e5 immediately, just closing the rook here and then king f8 and extra exchange. So yeah, instead of rook e7, it was maybe better to play something like knight h5 or rook e2. I don't know. Yep, but the critical moment is f5. That's the idea. Let us continue to the guys I didn't play. So I will try to play several games this way, and then I will come back to regular challengers. Okay, Cuba triple 3, accept. And I play with whites. Okay, e4. Whew, I deserved a sip of coffee. The game was really tough, and so too many technical problems for the very start of the show, right? Okay, Caracan. d4, d5. Let's try Panova attack again. c4. What black will do? Knight f6, e6, knight c6 maybe? Or both knight f6, then knight c6. There is usually a choice, of course. Yep. Knight c3, so it is something like Queen's Gambit, but already without pawns on the e and c files, right? Which makes position much more dynamic, since it is already looks much more open. 1. Okay, here, well, I think white has a chance to play c5 immediately, but I will try this move, a3, because if black takes on c4, bishop takes c4, it will be just a good idea for me to play this way, because bishop usually goes to a2 and b4 is critical, and if black doesn't take on c4, that at some point I could play c5, I think. Yeah. So anyway, I start with the bishop g5 still. I want black to take on c4 to play the position with the isolated pawn. h6, okay, just go away. If g5, I will be happy. Black probably thinks of playing knight e4, I don't know. No, knight c6. Okay. Well. Bishop e2 is possible. c5 I think is possible as well. So c5, if black undermines my pawn with the b6, I can play b4. I can also try bishop to b5 to fight for this e5 square. So let's try c5. It's kind of also a classic plan. Blackmar asks Andre Mood to play me with black. Well, just make a challenge without specifying the color of pieces. I will accept it later, and we will see with which pieces I will play. Okay. I am actually in a good mood today, so I'm not against playing some gambits. b6, well, so b4 is a good choice, I think. Bishop b5 is also an interesting try. Just a tempo move, attacking the knight and preparing castling. So I'll start with the bishop b5. Bishop b7. And it's possible to take on c6, then to play knight e5 with the tempo. And then to protect c5 with the b4. Or I can try b4 immediately, I think. Yeah, but it's better to keep position more or less closed, I think, for white. I don't know which move will be better. I will just take the bishop. Sorry, I will just take the knight with the bishop. Then I will play b4. I still control e5 square. And now, looks like inevitably I will have the passed pawn. After this, I think it makes sense for me to exchange the dark squared bishop, or to take no, I don't want to take on e4, so I'll take this guy instead. And now I can play, let's say, knight to e2, just to avoid an exchange of that knight. I can protect my knight playing, let's say, rook to c1. Rook to c1 looks a bit more natural, but I think I have a problem with the development. Well, a slight problem, maybe, but still might be annoying, so I'll play this first. I want to make castling next move. So I achieved not too much here, honestly. So just the passed pawn and the c file, but black also has something in this position. The knight on e4, let's say, looks pretty cool at the moment. Okay, rook e1. If bishop takes e2, I have to take with the queen, avoiding this knight c3, 4. If bishop doesn't take on e2, then I will probably play something like knight g3. Yeah, trying to get rid of this centralized knight finally. And if black plays f5, I just occupy e5 square. If not, then, well, I think my knight is potentially at least not worse than the bishop. But I do believe that my knight could be very good. Now an interesting question with which pawn to take, with the d4 or b4. b4 looks more solid because it keeps position closed. It doesn't lead to the activation of the rook d8. d takes c5 leads to connected passed pawns potentially, but this gives black also counterplay in the center. So I'm not sure if I will have a chance to blockade everything properly, but maybe it will be interesting to take these risks. So let's take on c5 with the d4. And let's see, what can I do now? Knight d4 is an interesting move. Knight e5 also deserves attention. Let's put the knight here. I'm going to use f5 square if it is possible. Might be very promising. Queen f6. And now it makes sense for me just to play for blockade, right? Controlling e5 is, yeah, important here. Very, very important. I have some problems with the time, so I have to be faster now. So first we blockade this, then I will try to, well, double or even triple my heavy pieces along the e file. If f6, then e6 drops. Now at some point I will have a threat of playing f5. So really nice. Okay. Let's do this. f6 is still not a threat. So I'll activate my rook, supporting my pawns. And I'm ready to play something like b5, c6, a4, a5, b6, and so on. I have to be careful, of course, about my rook and e5, but at some point I will be ready even to sacrifice the exchange. So I guess I'm fine here. Okay, it's important not to blunder something. And my pawns look more dangerous than black's ones in the center, potentially. Oh. Probably king f2 wasn't necessary, but okay, this is a bit overcautious decision. Right, let's do this also. What is going on? Let's take the pawn. It's hanging. I should be absolutely winning. My pawns are just monsters, and I take one more. So, yeah. Just unnecessary maneuvering, absolutely, but still position was absolutely winning, so why not? So, what was important for black to do here? I guess that's, well, after c5, b6 was correct. After bishop b5, bishop b7, takes, and b4. Well, everything was more or less fine. And here I would recommend probably just to take on c5 immediately to clarify the things, because at this very moment for white is probably not the greatest idea to take with the d4 pawn, because it gives black many chances to activate central pawns, and having pair of bishops, it will be just a catastrophe for white. So having pair of bishops, black will exert enormous pressure. For example, immediate d4 looks great because g2 is hanging. If I take on d4, bishop takes g2, well, my king loses the right to castle, and well, dangerous, right? So I would probably take with the b pawn, after which it's possible to activate the queen through a5 square, and now you can even threaten with g5 followed by knight e4. So typical counterplay here, then f5 and so on. So you, of course, we can e5 square, but you just activate your pawns and you have definitely some chances. Okay. So let's continue. To other challengers. Let's see whom I never played. Okay. Shelling Fort, FIDE master, high-rated guy, never played. So accept. It will be interesting, right? It will be interesting, and I'm playing black. So now it's time to be serious, of course. e4, e5. So what is it? Ruy Lopez? Yes. Not the exchanged variation. So maybe we'll play some classics. Yep. Everything goes to one of the classic lines. Castles. So now d4 or h3. h3. Okay. h6. Smyslov variation. Or Smyslov system. Just called differently. Knight e2, bishop goes to f8, so h6. The idea is to control g5 square, preventing this knight g5 stuff. Bishop c2, so now e4 is protected, the knight is ready to go to f1. Well, I usually put the bishop on d7. Knight f1. Now there are different plans, including knight a5, even despite the fact that bishop is already on c2. It's not a tempo move, but let's try a5 instead. So yeah, sometimes black plays this way too. So a4. Grabbing the space, and now if I occupy a5 with the knight, well, it looks a bit more solid if compared to the same, but with the pawn on the a6, right? So white has less possibilities to bother my knight there. And it looks like something new to my opponent, because he started thinking seriously. But that's okay. Alright, knight goes to h2, probably with the idea of knight g4. Is it really dangerous? Might be, at least. It looks like something dangerous. Let's start with the g6 move, just covering f5 square. Because usually knight g4 is not only one move, it is just a sequence of moves attacking on the king's side. So knight g4 followed by knight f5 and so on. So g6 is in many cases very useful move, because yeah, first of all it covers f5, so that's restricting the knight g3. At the same time, we can see that bishop f8 has no good square. So again, in many variations, this bishop simply goes to g7. Moreover, white has a plan of playing f4, right? And after opening of this diagonal h8 a1, the bishop will be definitely needed exactly on g7. Okay, let's take this pawn. And now I think it's a good idea for me to try to occupy e5 until white played e5 himself. b2 is hanging, so this sort of tempo move. Of course, yeah, there are different ways to protect b2. It's not the case. Now let's occupy g7. It looks a natural position. And that goes to f3. Okay, so what to do here? e5 is kind of white's main idea. I have to go away with my knight, I think. The question is where. I have only one normal square, it is h7, so let's go to h7. Now I have some ideas, like a3 maybe weakening this long diagonal. My bishop is already here, so it makes sense. Could be very interesting. And knight goes to d4. Well, possible move, of course, why not? It's kind of also typical square for a queen in such a situation. I exert some pressure on white's king side, so maybe I'm not against sacrificing something at some point. Oh, queen to c1, isn't it a blunder? I mean, if I play g5 now, what is going on? g5, knight f5, takes f5, takes f5, takes f4. g5, bishop goes away, just take on g3, right? Yeah. Looks like I can play g5. If knight f3, then queen takes f4. Yep. Yeah. Looks very promising. Looks very promising. So what to do now? I'm not quite sure, because bishop is hanging. If bishop goes away, then g3, knight drops. Knight f5, I just take the knight once and then take the bishop with the queen. Doesn't look like my queen could be trapped there, unless I missed something, but yeah, e5. Isn't it a desperado? Should be something like that, but I have to be careful, of course. I think queen takes f4, the most accurate move, just offering the exchange of queens. Okay, here I can take, check, and then I take on e6, let's say, with the rook. Why not? Simply extra minor piece, right? No compensation. Bishop e4. Oh, bishop d5 is this right? Okay, let's protect. Let's protect. c6. Yeah, c6, why not? Queen c2, so knight goes to f6 probably. Yeah, should be just a guy. It looks absolutely winning unless I blunder or something, but I think I'm alright. So queen g3 now wins even more. I think it's time to resign, but white, strangely enough, still plays this position. Okay, let's attack the queen, the bishop, and the checkmate on g2. So too many things are attacked, and bishop e6 is the move I've blundered actually. Yeah, so king to h8 or king to f8, what is better? I think into f8 is a bit more accurate. Yeah. A lot of heading stuff here. Yeah. Very nice. Queen e2. Okay, I'll take the bishop. And now I'll just simplify because, yeah, white's queen is the last dangerous piece, and now it's over. Okay, so white missed this counterplay with the queen h4 and g5, by the way, quite typical one. But I do believe that, well, this straightforward play with f4 is not the best resource for white. So, in my opinion, white should play this position in a more subtle way. So prior to doing anything on the king side, it's better to make some prophylaxis on the queen side. So maybe to play something like, I don't know, bishop to d3, then maybe b3 or something, just restricting my knight. Maybe to try to play even c4 to grab the space there. And after that, only to switch to f4. I mean, f4 is very, very, well, challenging move. And it is a double-edged usually, because, yeah, you have some activity after that for sure, but you also weaken a lot. So, in my opinion, it wasn't well prepared, because my knight had the chance to protect e5 square, just occupying very natural at the same time c4 square, attacking b2, exerting pressure. So I was just fine after that. So f4 is usually very good here when black has no this direct access to e5 square, so that you can quickly prepare e4, e5, and yeah, you definitely have a great initiative in this case. But here it was not that cool, in my opinion. Again, rook b1 looks like a waste of time, so it was already better to do something like queen c1 maybe. Of course, after that, g5 deserves attention, but I'm not sure I can afford playing this way, because if bishop takes g5 looks quite dangerous for black. Maybe there is nothing, but yeah, looks dangerous to weaken so many squares around the king. And if not, then I have to spend the time on playing something like king h7, because h5, well, just weaken g5, and if bishop is here, well, this might be extremely dangerous. It may be a fatal pin, simply, after rook f1 and so on. So, yeah, queen c1 deserved attention, and then later, I think here, knight d4 wasn't a good decision. Again, rook f1 deserved attention, maybe some preparation connected to bishop d3 followed by b3 or something. Once again, this queen c1, but then g5 maybe. But again, probably it was double-edged. You know, queen c1, g5 is 100% double-edged. So you can even go away with the bishop. Okay, you lose the dark square bishop, but f5 and h5 are weakened. So I thought of playing h5 here in the response to queen c1. But this also gives you some play, because g5 is not weakened. So probably you can play knight g5 or something. Yeah. But looks like after knight d4, white already has serious problems, because after queen h4, I can't see how to protect everything normally. So the only way is probably knight to e2, the one or another, because it helps to protect everything. And g5 becomes not that dangerous, but it looks ugly, right? So if knight here, well, black definitely has no problems. Maybe knight to g5 is possible to play here. It looks great, right? Already creating some threats to h3 and so on. If another knight goes to e2, I can do actually the same. So I can play knight to g5 now, exerting concrete pressure, and knowing one on h3. So some sacrifices there might be very, very dangerous for white. Yeah. So yeah, general conclusion, f4 was too early. It was too straightforward to be really efficient. Okay, that's my opinion. Let's get back to challengers that never played Never played. Our chess. Wow. Except very nice. Very nice nickname. And I play with black again. Yeah, by the way, Kramnik student said queen f3 was possible there, but queen f3 could have been met with knight g5, I guess. The same, so knight g5, then something like, I don't know, sacrifice on h3, and if you take on g5, then, wow, without a dark squared bishop, it is quite hard to play in that position. I have this great outpost on e5, and so on. So again, oh no, Rui Lopez now Italian. Okay, let's play Italian. It is very close by the spirit, but maybe it is not an Italian game. No, it's Italian. Yeah, it is quite Italian with the d3 move, which is very close to Rui Lopez. We usually deal with same types of pawn structures and almost same maneuvers. Bishop e3. Okay, should I take? Or should I just play d6 here? I don't really know which will be better. Let's try d6. Interesting. What white will do. So if white takes on c5, okay, I take with the pawn. Of course, I have double pawns, but I control d4 perfectly. I have already d file semi-opened, which means I can activate my heavy pieces, and as for the rest, position is closed, and this means white's heavy pieces are still passive. And here, I have a feeling that I can just take on e3, and then just play knight a5, grabbing this extremely important bishop. Can I do this or not? Let's try it. That's interesting. Yeah, knight a5. That's why I played d6. I just protected e5. Now I'll just grab this guy. I love bishops. And now bishop e6, completing the development. And there is an interesting question, where to castle. So I can castle short, I can castle long, right? Both are equally possible. And castling long is interesting because there is a concession already made by white on the king side, right? h3 looks like a great hook. Looks like a great pawn to undermine with a g5, g4 or something like that. Let's try queen d7. Tricky move. Maybe threatening with the bishop h3, I don't know. Duke Crusher asks, Andre, who's your favorite player nowadays or, well, throughout the history? Because nowadays I'm not quite sure. Throughout the history there are many, starting with probably Akiba Rubinstein. Yeah, Rubinstein, Capablanca, let's say. Oh, Petrosian, definitely. Fischer, yeah. Kasparov, Karpov. I think it's enough. And well, if not world champions, there are also some guys that I usually love to follow their games, like Viktor Korchnoi, Vasily Ivanchuk. Well, there are many, honestly. This is a hard question. Queen e1, Queen e1. Let's try to castle long. It will be at least fun. Yeah. Knight goes to f5. That was quite predictable. It's a very natural idea, for sure. So maybe d5 now. Yeah, let's try to be active in the center. White tries to do something on the sides. I will try to break through in the center. Okay, the logical idea. And a great advice, which you can find in every book dedicated to the chess strategy, right? React with the central counter blow to the attack on the flank or something like that. White definitely didn't start the attack on the flank, but White started playing on the king side. And d5 just gives White a chance to understand that, well, it is not that simple. It is not that simple. Knight f5, so to take on e4, then knight takes e4. Well, knight takes e4 is not possible. In this case, I just take on f5. So d takes e4, knight takes g7 is probably planned. In which case, what should I do? Not sure. Knight on f6 will be hanging, and yeah. Knight on f6 will be hanging, and my bishop on e6 at the same time. So let's try just rook g8, protecting g7. Because if knight takes h6 or g7, g-file becomes open, and I have bishop h3 in the end of the variation. So I think rook g8, despite looking a bit ugly, makes sense, because now I have a sort of taking on e4, I guess. Yeah, and if I take on d5, I just take the knight on f5. It's a multi-purpose move or something like that. Queen h4, exerting additional pressure. But now I can take on e4, I think, simply. Why not? Let's take it. Knight can't take because I take on f5, and if pawn takes, I take on d2, winning the... Well, not winning the minor piece because there is knight e7 in the end, but winning some material because still, material relation will be in my favor. Knight takes h6. Okay, I take on h6. Then h3 is hanging. That was my basic idea, so g-file is open. That's why I played rook g8 without being scared by this knight h6 or knight g7. Okay, now to take an h3 immediately or so. Or what? Or take on d3, I don't know. Both look very, very natural. Let's start with this move. Just grabbing very important central pawn. Oh. No, it can't be good for white. It can't be good for white. It should be absolutely winning for black, honestly. So now I have a couple of hanging pawns. Maybe just like queen e6, protecting everything. Why not? Why should I think of... Oh, rook takes g2 now. Yeah, rook takes g2. The rook is overloaded, right? Yeah, absolutely lost. So, giving me a chance to grab the bishop was already a dubious decision for white. So I think bishop e3 is just not a good move. So instead of, well, bishop e3 is not a problem, not a big problem after d6. White still has a chance to play something like a3, let's say, or a4, which is quite frequently played here to save the bishop on this diagonal and to prevent this knight a5. But instead of bishop b3, I think it makes sense just to play c3, knight d2, rook e1, knight f1, just like in real Lopez, and I do believe it is the main line, right? So bishop b3 kind of, okay, already unnecessary simplification of the position. And h3 is definitely a mistake. So a4 or something, right? It wasn't, of course, the decisive mistake, but after this, at very least, I had no problems because I take the key piece here. This is so-called Spanish bishop or Italian bishop if you want, because here it is the Italian game, right? It is very, very important. It exerts pressure on f7. It controls central squares. In many cases, when black plays d5, this weakens light squares, and this bishop is very useful. So now, as we can say, I can do almost everything what I want here. I can play d5, I can delay playing d5, I can exert some pressure on light squares in general, I can exert pressure on the king side, which I actually did here, right? So yeah, I guess allowing me to grab this bishop was already a mistake. And well, the rest was not very interesting, I think, from a strategic point of view, because black already were doing very, very well. But maybe here, yeah, instead of queen e1, something like immediate knight h4 deserved attention, while, yeah, black is still in the process of finishing the development. White starts something active, so knight gets to f5 and so on. So queen e1 looks like a waste of time to me. All right. Okay. So let us continue. So I think there was one more guy whom I didn't play, and then we came back to my regular followers, regular challengers, and so on. So lucky 1, 2, 3 Netherlands, no games played, except and again, I'm playing with black. That's not very good, but okay, what can I do? d4, knight f6. Oh, finally something closed, right? Knight f3, b6. So queen's Indian or Catalan. I prefer playing Catalan in such a case. Bishop g2, bishop goes to e7. Castles, castles, and once white supports c4, I would play d5. Like here, so queen c2 prepares e4, so it's time to play d5 for black. Knight d2. As far as I remember, there is something connected with bishop b7 followed by knight a6 for black. Works good. Yeah, so let's try it. e4 and knight a6. As far as I remember, this sort of very popular lines. So the point behind having knight on a6, which at first glance looks strange, is that it creates a threat of knight b4, and it supports c5 in many cases. So it gets to c5. It's been improved anyway. Just like here, maybe it's possible to play c5 already. Not quite sure, but I usually prefer to start with rook c8. Just prepare everything perfectly. John 25 OG precise. Well, okay, I will play you today. If you challenged me. Did you challenge me? If yes, I'll just accept your challenges. So yeah, let's dedicate today's session mainly to the guys that didn't play. Never. Against me. So b3. Well, I think it's time to c5. I think it's time. Let's do it. Yeah, ed5 looks okay for black. Now we have a tension in the center. It looks like black at least not worse prepared for this, but who knows. Maybe it was better for me to take an e4. Yeah, after b3 it was better for me to take an e4 and then to play c5 or something. I don't know. We will see. So bishop b2 now to do what? To take on c4 looks natural, and then to take on d4. So to take on c4, white takes with the knight, let's say bishop b4 is possible. Or b5, followed by cd4. Yeah, let's take on c4. Interesting position. Knight takes c4. Okay, to play b5 or not to play b5, that's the question. So b5 forces the knight away somewhere. Then I take on d4. Or maybe I should take on d4 right now. Or maybe I should start with the bishop e4. So there are many different opportunities. And I'm not quite sure which one is the best. Let's try c takes d4. Queen f5, okay. So what is going on after bishop e4 move, which looks just very natural, protecting everything and attacking the queen at the same time. Currently I have an extra pawn, by the way. Queen f4. And now b5 or knight c5. And then, or even just d3. Again, there are too many. No, d3 bishop takes f6. It doesn't work. So maybe b5. Wow. Or bishop d3 and takes c4. Come on, I can't make a decision. There are just too many interesting moves. Let's try knight c5. It looks like my worst piece at the moment, being placed somewhere on the edge of the board, right? And I create some threats, including knight d3, knight takes b3, so white also has to count this. Looks like black is just fine here. Should be at least. I don't know. Because I control everything, right? I have an extra pawn. I have a lot of different threats. Like I already said. So knight d3, knight b3, knight e6 is also a threat. b5 at some point can be a very annoying move. Well, bishop takes d4. So now I think, yeah, if I take on b3, attacking the rook and the bishop, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6 in that case, queen takes e4, and I can take on a1, having the extra exchange at very least. Knight e6 is also a move, but I don't have a lot of time, so I would prefer taking on b3. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the rook to d1. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad for me, but maybe not that bad. So, I mean, I have bishop d3 move now. Then knight goes to e5, and that is really bad for me. And that was unnecessary, absolutely unnecessary blunder. Yeah. Then queen c7, I think it is just forced. Yeah, queen c7. Can I do this? Looks like I can. So let's try. So I'm still up a pawn, right? Yeah, but position became quite annoying. So a lot of pieces around me. So white exerts definitely some pressure. I don't like this stuff. But okay, it was only my fault to allow this to my opponent to do. Let's simplify now. Well, there is something like this possible. Bishop e7 was much better than that. Yeah, this is a bad game for me. It's a bad game. I miss a lot of different opportunities for me and for my opponent. Interesting. Okay, let's do something like this. I'm still up a pawn and I won on time. Yeah, I was lucky enough, so I think I missed something there. Just a second after bishop takes d4, it looked very, very promising for black, but then one of a sudden became kind of annoying position. So just a sec. Where it was so knight c4 takes here, bishop e4 here. I do believe black is already doing very well. After bishop d4, definitely it was possible just to take on f3, I think. Yeah, that was just a move. If I'm not mistaken again, because after bishop takes f3, right? If queen takes f3, then I take the bishop on d4. That's over. If bishop takes f3, then knight goes to e6, attacking the queen and the bishop. Yeah, so I would just win material immediately. And if bishop takes f6, then I take on f6, for example, and so white has no this intermediate rook d1. Huh? That is kind of, yeah, very easy stuff. I don't know why. Why did I take on b3 here? Well, actually, I didn't see this rook d1 for the reason unknown. So I thought that, okay, queen takes c4, now I take the rook on a1. If rook goes away somewhere, I just take the knight on c4 and completely forgot about this rook to d1. And yeah, in the end, it was already far from being clear. So Azure missed after queen f5 suggests to take on c5. What is that? Queen f5, g6, rook c5. So what's the point? I just take on c5, come on. Strange. Maybe I don't understand the correct moment when you suggest it, but anyways. As for white, I think there was something wrong with the move order because, yeah, I received very good position. So already here, I guess it is important to improve somehow, maybe to make a decision on the center to play e5. But after e5, I do the same, so I just play knight to d7 and then c5. So now it is even easier for me to d because d5 is no longer that attacked, right? But I saw that white plays something like b4. Black is also not in a hurry here, so it's possible to play c5 immediately, of course, but sometimes black even performs something like queen c7, queen b8, queen a8. Rook to d8 or rook to c7, rook to c8, and only then c5 when it's everything prepared accurately. White still has some chances here, so it's possible to try h4, then rook e1, knight f1, something goes to g5 if possible, just like in King's Indian attack or something. Yeah, but b3 should be also playable. I just don't remember how white should play here after c5. So ed5 looks like a natural idea, but yeah, probably here immediately queen f5. Yeah, so probably here queen f5, going away from this c file, right? Allowing me no idea connected with taking on c4 and then playing b5, or somehow exploiting the pin along the c file. That's what I mean. Yeah, so immediate queen f5 deserved attention for sure. Okay, so some challenges were there. New guys, just a second. Oh. Carl Neering, John 25, and OG Precise. So let's start with Carl Neering. Yeah, I accept. And I play with white again. Okay, that's good. Carcon. Okay. Let's play classic line with protecting the pawn with the knight. Okay, h4. h5. Seriously. I don't remember how to play here correctly, but I think, yeah, this should be good enough. So immediate capture on h5 might be a problem. Might be not. So bishop c2 is something, right? Just prepared. So why not to attack this pawn one more time with the bishop? Oh, come on. What's that? Now I can take it easily. And I will. Yeah, looks like a pawn pro bono. Gratis. Okay. Just extra minor piece now. There are two options. I don't understand something, or I just have a completely winning position already. I think most likely the second one. Let's come back to f4. Queen d6. Once again, there are so many different possibilities. So let's try bishop e3, simply developing the bishop. Why not? Completing the development. Let's say c4. Yeah, why not? Grabbing the space. So we have a normal Caricon, but with the extra minor piece for white. Come on. Let's try c5. Knight h5 maybe? Yeah, that's okay. Let's say g4. Queen is trapped. Unless it goes to c2, which is of course quite good for me. Yeah, take it. Take it. Rook c1. Let's exchange it. I've lost the focus a bit, so now black has some counterplay, of course. But okay, let's just keep playing. rook. Yeah, too many actually, yeah, blunders, move by move. So there is nothing to analyze actually. But h5 is not a move, so h6 should be played, of course, because this creates a weakness, and I can easily attack it with the knight, with the bishop, with all my pieces, almost. Okay, so the next John 25, accept. White pieces again, very good. e4. John, you're welcome. Let's play. e4, come on. Yeah, Sicilian. For the first time today, I think. And what is that? Khan, Taimanov, Paulsen, I don't know. Yeah, Queen c7. So let's try this calm approach, Bishop e2. Of course, most popular line starts after Bishop to e3, and then white castles long in many cases. I do believe this is also possible to play. Bishop e7. So black doesn't play a6, by the way. Is it critical here or not? I think I don't have a chance to exploit the weakness of d6 somehow. I don't know, playing knight b5, queen b8, so what? There is nothing, alright? So probably it's better for me just to develop the bishop on e3. Position can be still transposed into many different lines. For example, Scheveningen is now on the board, which is quite cool. Very flexible, very flexible. Order of moves for black. To start with the e6. Unless you want to play neither, of course. After that, it's not possible. So, castles, let's say f4. For how long black will avoid playing a6? That's interesting. Knight takes d4. Usually queen takes d4 is a good idea in this situation. Yeah, let's take with the queen. e5, typical reaction, just to simplify a position. Then queen gets to d3. And after takes on f4, bishop takes f4, my queen is ready to occupy g3. That is the idea behind playing queen takes d4. What? b6? Well, it's probably playable, but it looks so strange. Unusual. So if I play e5, what is going on? e5 takes e5 takes e5, now goes to d7 probably. Then what? I have nothing because, well, my pieces are not that prepared to exert a serious pressure. So I just rook to d1 instead. Rook to d1, bishop gets to b7, bishop gets to f3, but then e5 is possible. Can I do something based on knight b5 here? Well, at some point maybe, yeah. Not immediately. No, let's play rook d1. This looks like a natural move for me. Yeah, black's position looks very solid. I mean, even after this b6, which looks very strange to me. Well, the whole concept that black avoids playing this a6. But I can't come up with the concrete refutation right now. I mean, black has everything protected. Maybe now knight b5 gives me something. Not sure again. Queen takes c2, then what? Bishop to d3. Queen c6, rook c1, some sort of initiative there, right? At least. Yeah, let's try knight b5. Let's try to just underline the importance of the b5 square after all. That is strange. Queen b8. And now e5. Let's now play e5. Still not sure if I do anything with all this maneuvering, but at least looks tricky, right? I have sort of advantage in developments. Maybe it will give me something. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, very solid. Extremely solid approach. Extremely solid approach. Queen e4, bishop b7 and nothing. f5 maybe, but then even e takes f5 is possible. And d takes e5 is also should be considered after that. But then I think I will have some initiative after taking on d8. I don't know. Bishop f3, d5. No, bishop f3 will be met by bishop b7, I believe. Oh. Yeah, for the first time, I'm puzzled. Really puzzled. What to do here? Let's try f5. Okay. Let's try to be active at least. The question, will it be the last challenger for tonight? No. Of course no. Come on, we played only 1 hour and 20 minutes, right? So we definitely have something like half an hour. More, I mean, half an hour still to come. With the guys like, you know, our superstars. Kramnik Student, Duke Crusher, Miktal, Blackmar, and so on. Come on. Yeah, e takes f5. And now, bishop to c4 maybe. Not sure if I achieve something there. Bishop f4. Bishop f4 maybe a move. Let's, yeah, just exert some pressure at least. I have no idea what am I doing, but d6 is handing at least. But there could be nothing, okay. Yeah. Queen d8, bishop d8, rook d8, king f8. What's there? Might be nothing, but let's check it. I don't know. Should be wrong, I have a feeling, but maybe I have some compensation. So bishop d2 now, or knight d6 immediately. Now let's play knight d6. Yeah, I have no time. So most likely I'll just lose the game. But okay. Now I have this. Which is very important, a checkmate. Yeah, very nice one by the way. So I never had such a pattern. Yeah, I was lucky enough to finish the game this way, right? And yeah. King f8, knight d6, queen d6 should be played here, of course. Rook takes, knight takes, bishop takes c5, and black has extra pawn, right? Maybe it is not that important because this pawn is doubled and white has pair of bishops, but pawn is a pawn, right? So placing the knight on e4 looks just normal idea and so on. So definitely white has some play because bishops are looking quite dangerous potentially, and white has 3 against 2 here. Yeah, but yeah, still complicated. Still complicated for white to achieve anything. Okay. So previously, yeah, probably black's approach was completely playable. I'm not sure what could I have improved there. So let's see. I also promised to play to OG precise, so it will be the last new guy today, and then I will play a couple of games with my old friends. E4, E5, knight f3, knight c6. What would it be? Bishop b5. Okay, real opus. Again, classic approach, which is great. Castles, bishop e7, main line. Until this moment, rook e1. Yes, we keep playing the main sequence of moves. Castles. So h3 or d4. D4 immediately. Okay. Absolutely playable system for white. I saw only d5 and bishop e3, and I consider them serious continuation. So h3. Okay, I can probably just take on f3 and take on d4. And I'm not sure what will have a complete compensation, so let's take it. Let's do it. Yeah. So I'm up a pawn, but white has pair of bishops as a compensation. But nothing else, I think, because yeah, I'm also ahead in development. I don't have serious weaknesses, I guess. And after cd4, I'm happy because I take on d4. I just up a pawn, and now I just grab the bishop, a Spanish bishop. So guys, just remember, never give up a Spanish bishop, even if it looks a bit passive for some time. It is probably the most important piece in real opus, in Italian, and many other openings. Okay, without this bishop, well, no chances, simply. No chances to create anything dangerous. Knight c3, okay, let's say bishop to f6. Now I'm not again simplifying a position a bit because I have extra pawn, right? One of the easiest strategies when you have extra material like a pawn, you just exchange pieces and yeah, you're okay. Knight is gone to d5 probably, but I think it's not that dangerous. If knight d5, then I play c6, knight f6, queen f6. Everything is more or less protected. Still up a pawn. So now let's take the knight. It wasn't necessary 100%, but it's one of possible ways of playing here, I guess. Knight to c5, attacking e4. And if white plays e5, I think I have intermediate knight to e6 attacking the bishop, and then just d5, c5, d4. And come on. Very good pawns for black in the center. f3, just too passive. but maybe not that bad for white in general. What about playing knight a4 here and then queen f6? Challenging the bishop and something. Again, there are a lot of different ways. Maybe just knight to e6. Yeah, I like the position of the knight on e6 because here it is quite good. It attacks, it also combines this attacks with protecting c7 pawn. It controls a lot. So why not to have the knight here? Bishop e3. Now let's say queen h4 looks very promising, but I don't like the weakness of c6 here. Maybe queen d7 instead, but it looks a bit passive. d5 is also an interesting way to solve the problem of the center. So just to make everything a bit more active. What else? What else do I have here? Queen h4. Okay, let's try queen h4. Let's just try queen h4. Why not? My queen becomes active, right? Rook c1. Yeah. Deserves attention. So maybe it's time for c5, I don't know. Let's try c5. Grabbing the space at least. Bishop f2. Where to put the queen? To g5, I think. Yeah, g5. h4. Now let's come back to e7. So somewhat strange play for black, of course. So now I have a weakness on d6, which is annoying. Yeah, probably I could have played much better here. But yeah, I played what I've played, so let's protect the weakness on d6, come on. Bishop g3, this gives me d4 square. Probably now the best position for my knight is on the e5, because it will cover d6 on this diagonal. Well, okay, forget about it. Because now I'm just up an exchange. Right. That's great. b3, now d5, ed5. No, it's just a blunder, so let's make this move instead. Rook d1. Now d5. Well, this creates a passed pawn. Not very cool. Let's play this. I think it wasn't justified to sacrifice an exchange this way. It's strange, but still playable, okay. So I definitely has some compensation. But I have a file open. Some weaknesses on the king side, so cooperation of pieces if necessary. And bishop on d6 is somewhat just limited with the on pawn. Yeah. Not sure how to activate my pieces though. c8, let's say. To start with. It's usually not so easy to win such a position, of course, but gradually black should make a progress. g3, okay. This looks like a weakness. Let's try to disturb it. And now what? Rook to f3? Yeah, rook to f3 looks great. Oh, that's a blunder. Oh, the rook on d1. Ba-dum, bum, bum. Now it's lost, absolutely. I'll just blockade everything. No compensation, of course. So, well, definitely I played very bad when started converting the extra pawn, but after knight takes d4 and takes on b3, well, black simply has extra pawn for no compensation. Maybe it was sensible for me just to start with c5, c4. C5, c4, yeah, just grabbing the space immediately, fighting for a d3 square or something, and then I would have had a great maneuver of knight e7, knight c5, or e5, and then to d3. Yeah, that is a good idea when white has no light square bishop to cover that hole on d3. Yeah, probably that was just the best maneuver. I played knight e7, that was also okay, but after knight c3, bishop here was probably already not that great. I don't know. I have a feeling that it was somehow wrong. I don't know. Yeah. So maybe c6, maybe knight c5, attacking the queen and putting the knight on e6, immediately covering f4 square, something like that. So a lot of different nuances here, but the point is that black is simply up a pawn and no compensation, no serious compensation. So makes no sense to play with white this way. Okay. So now let's come back to our superstars. First of all, I want to play to Black Mar. And I accept his challenge. Oh, my baby started crying. And well, voila. You play with white. Play with white. And just remove the stuff. Takes f3. Oh, let me remember. Let's play c6. Bishop c4 and bishop f5, I think. Is it possible to play knight d7 here? I'm not sure, but yeah, it's also an interesting idea. Just to play knight b6 then. Bishop takes f7, king f7, knight g5, king goes away, knight a6. What is that? Is it something for white or just, yeah, giving up a piece for nothing? I don't know. Looks like that at first glance. Let's try it. Just interesting. I'm just curious. And now knight b6. Attacking the bishop. And now I think I can just play this. Bishop g4. Which was not possible immediately, because when the bishop was on diagonal a2, g8, bishop f7 could have been a move against bishop g4, followed by knight e5 check and takes g4. Yeah. So now I think I have good chances to achieve very comfortable position. So I want to play e6. And we will have sort of counter con with extra pawn for black. Looks very solid, I mean. Yeah, bishop e3, protecting the pawn on d4, but e6 anyway. And after h3, it will be a very interesting question to take on f3 or just to play bishop h5, trying to provoke white to play g4. Not sure. Not sure. Because at first glance, it will be better for black to keep the bishop on the board and to provoke some weaknesses on the king side. On the other hand, knight on e5 will be annoying. So if I take on f3 immediately, I'll just leave white without this main attacking piece, but with a pair of bishops. So pros and cons. I'm not sure what is good for black here. What is better? What is better? Well, let's try to be that, yeah, brave to provoke white to play g4. a3. Preventing bishop b4 or preparing b4. I don't know. Both look not very dangerous. So complete the development with the bishop e7 or just to play knight d5 here. I don't know. Bishop e7 looks good. Bishop d6 also looks good, controlling e5. So I'll try bishop d6. Bishop g5. And now probably bishop e7. Again, attacking d4. Yeah, I'm trying to be nasty, just attacking opponent's pawns on each move. Because usually the gambit is what? You sacrifice a material and then you create one threat after another, so your opponent has problems meeting all of them. Here I do just like, yeah, the same, but having the extra material. Yeah, good strategy. So I force my opponent to solve same psychological problems. So d4 is hanging. Maybe it's not that important. I mean, maybe white can sacrifice it if he wants, but it's hanging, that's for sure. It was hanging, that's for sure. And now knight f4, right, is white's main idea. Knight f4 is not really a threat. Let's start with this. No, this leads to bishop takes f6 and then g4. Might be really bad for me. So I don't want to play g4 here. Sorry, h6. So what to do instead? Maybe knight to d5. And then c4. But this weakens d4 forever. Maybe it's a good provoking move. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's try it. Let's just see where it goes. Where this all goes. Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to provoke it to make this d4 sort of constant source of headache for white. Looks a bit stupid, such an approach, but it's annoying. It's annoying for white. As we can see, bishop goes back. And now probably knight f4 is really what white wants to do. So it's time probably to try this option. Bishop g6, exchanging light squared bishops. Without a light squared bishop, it might be not very dangerous attack at all for white. So let's take it. Let's take this guy. The queen is somewhat vulnerable there, so I'll try this move. I'm up a pawn, so exchanging pieces looks like, yeah, a good strategy for me. Kramnik student says, I'm also super sleepy. Well, we are about to finish. Just be patient a bit. I mean, you are the next. So knight c5 now, or what? Knight c5 looks promising, just kicking this queen away, but then queen goes to c2, and, well, I'm not sure if I achieve something. So let's just castle finally. It's time to castle. I also wanted to make this h6 move, preventing knight g5. And yeah, as I said, without the light squared bishop, it will be very hard to do anything serious. So bishop h6, is it a threat? I don't know. Let's prepare for this anyway. Knight e4 was even better, with the same idea. Yeah, let's exchange some pieces. I already did this move today. Queen to h4. But maybe this time it wasn't that good at that time. Okay, I just... yeah, lost the time, lost the tempo. I don't like my position anymore. Let's protect it properly. Let's protect it properly. Now no attack, I'm up a pawn. Should be gradually winning. Let's try this. I have the time to make my opponent confused a bit. So counter-attack is what we need here. Yeah. Okay. A good game anyway. Of course, White had nothing, in my opinion, as a result of the opening, so maybe I played good. The only interesting question is, yeah, is it possible to take on f7 here, or to play knight g5 and after e6 to take on e6? I don't know. Probably it's, well, it should be possible. It may be just playable in Blitz, I don't know, but it doesn't look like a good idea because the king is still on e1. The king is still on e1, so yeah, I will pin the piece, and if bishop takes, king takes, let's say knight g5, king g8, knight e6, then I think I just play queen a5 and no problem. So the next move will be somewhere with the knight, attacking the knight on e6, and I'm okay with the extra minor piece. Again, maybe playable in the Blitz, but for sure not the best position. Okay, for White to play. And after, well, one more thing, right? After knight b6, I do believe bishop b3 was the best square, because after bishop d3, I just play bishop g4 without problems. So bishop b3 should be played. And then after bishop g4, there is still bishop takes f7 idea, right? So after this, black should try something else, and if there is no bishop g4, then well, it's not that easy, because if I play bishop f5, then knight e5 with the tempo, or knight g5, or bishop takes f7 and then check and takes on f5. Yeah, so maybe I would end up with just my bishop on c8 and playing e6, which is also achievement for White. So yeah, bishop b3 is my recommendation for this position. I don't know. Thanks a lot anyway. So, okay, Kramnik student, you were sleepy, so let's just play to you. Probably e4, yeah. Recently, Kramnik student was playing e4 against me, so let's try Philidor. I don't know. Let's try Philidor. Let's see what Kramnik student has there. And the Philidor with the bishop on e7. Oh, bishop c4 is not the best line. In my opinion, bishop f4 is the best one. But it doesn't mean that bishop c4 is not playable. It's just not that ambitious. e4 is hanging along with the bishop on b3. Well, it's not hanging, but it's kind of, yeah, positional achievement for black to grab this light squared bishop. As we can see, it is just the central topic of today's session, right? This light squared bishop in this open games. Okay, so bishop e7 is not that great. To play bishop, sorry, knight g4, just exchange it. Let's try it. This bishop wasn't good anyway for me. And knight to f6. Okay. Now let's try to exert some pressure on e4 pawn, especially after f4. I think it makes sense for me to do. But I have to be careful because e5 is, for instance, a threat now. Or maybe not really, I don't know. It looks like that, right? e5 takes where my knight goes. Not so easy to find a good square. Not that great position, to be honest, for black. But okay, let's do this. Covered f5 square. Because knight f5 is a very annoying threat in many cases. And also, at some point, I prepare knight to h5. e5, knight to h5, e takes d6. And my rook on e8 is hanging, but maybe queen. Yeah, I can't do anything except for taking on e2 in that case. So, I have to take here first. Yeah, Kramnik student is very close to win his first game against me, I think. That position looks very promising for white. This ugly knight on h5 doesn't look very, very good for me. Why did I play Philidor? Come on. I've noticed that every time I deviate from Ruy Lopez here during Banter Blitz sessions, I just usually regret, especially when I play Philidor. So it's time to forget about this Philidor, because I don't remember the theory there, I don't feel those positions well, and yeah, there's no sense in playing them. King h2. What about my favorite move today? Let's try. Queen h4. Another central topic. So the one is the light squared bishop, another one is this Queen h4 move. Okay, there is a threat of taking on f7. I can't ignore it. But I can play something like f5, I think. Unless I miss something. So let's say f5 takes en passant, rook takes e1. What is that? f7 can goes away. I think I'm okay here. So let's play f5. It looks a bit strange, and it gives, or maybe f6 is better with the same idea. Interesting. Interesting. Now let's try f6. It's a bit more tricky. But then knight e4. Yeah, I want to play f5. Okay. This restricts the knight c3 at least. And I can blockade e5 pawn a bit later with the help of knight g7, knight e6 if I want. So it looks like f5 solves my problems with protecting my king. And the king side in general, so white no longer has this attack. Yeah, f5 closes the f file. And by the way, I just get rid of this backward pawn, which is also quite annoying to protect usually. But what is my main achievement with the help of f5? I control e4. It was very, very important square because through e4, white's knight could get to even f6. Yeah. Now it's not that possible. Okay, queen d3. Knight e4 is protected. I'm also very sleepy already. I have to deal with it somehow. I don't know how. c5? No. c5 weakens d5. Bishop e6. My bishop is anyway stupid. At least it will blockade the pawn, right? Let's do it. G3 traps my queen? No. Knight takes G3 is possible, then D4 is hanging. What else? I don't need anything else, I think. Yeah, knight takes D3 is just a guy. I just take it. Because if knight takes E6, then knight takes F1 check. So the queen is overloaded here. Yeah. And I grab some material. Hence. Question, what if he would played G4? I think knight G7 was possible at the very least. Not sure, but could have been just a guy. Just enough. Okay, rook F4. Where do I need my queen? No time actually, yeah, so let's put it here. Looks safe at least. All pieces are in the plane. All pieces are in the game. Bishop controls light squares. Queen controls dark squares. Typical idea. Oh my god. Check. Let's take here. A bit risky, but should be fine. Can I win this immediately with the rook e2? Yes, I think so. I just grab the rook. And no checks. Looks like I control the whole board here. Yep. Yeah, there is no chance anymore. So position was very dubious. Yeah, position was very, very dubious because of that weakness on f6. So let's come back to that just really quick. Knight g4 wasn't forced. First of all, here it was possible to play normal, I don't know, rook e8, bishop f8, or rook e8, h6, and then to c. But I decided to exchange these bishops immediately, and probably I was wrong with the estimation of this position, because white simply has the advantage in development, which is, yeah, very cool. g6, e5, takes, knight h5. So here, king h2, yeah, feels like a waste of time again. Maybe queen to f3 was better, or even queen to f2, just solving the problem with this queen h4, and also solving the problem with this weakened diagonal a7, g1. And now in many cases white has just very straightforward threat of playing g4, knight e4, or maybe immediate knight e4. I can't go away with the queen somewhere because f7 is already hanging. I can't really play bishop e6 here because in this case I just break the connection between the queen and the pawn e5, so you can play knight e4 immediately without problems. Yeah, so position looks very good. Position looks very good for white after queen f2. Yeah, so Kramnik student says g3, I think I had a good position, so g3 was the mistake. I think the first mistake was to play king h2, so queen f2 here looks really cool. I don't see a normal plan for black. So with the queen f2, just prevent everything that I wanted to do. So this fork on g3, this queen h4 move, this queen c5 pin, and so on. Just a prophylaxis, yeah. And at the same time, very active move, pinning my queen to f7 pawn. Yeah. So after king h2, white is also okay, I think. But after queen h4, as we can see, I have some tricks. So after queen f3, f5, we can see you can't take on f6. So several guys suggested taking on passant here, but after rook e1, f7, well, it doesn't really have anything because I play king f8, so what? No follow-up. I have an extra rook, so queen f6 is not possible. f4, g3, everything is controlled, no checks. e6 square is controlled. Black is just a rook up, right? So after f5, you play queen d3, I play bishop e6, and well, if you don't play g3, okay, I just play rook d8. I am fine. If you take on e6, I take with the rook, and again, your pawn e5 is blockaded, your king side is weakened, and yeah, I think black is by no means worse here. By no means. So yeah, probably it's equal, probably not, I don't know. So everything is dependent on the e5 pawn. So is it a weakness or a power? If you can't really promote it or to make it progress, at least with pushing it a bit deeper in my camp, then it's more like a weakness in my opinion, and well, black is better. So it's kind of isolated pawn, right? Yeah, so not very easy to estimate a position right now because, well, it's almost midnight in Germany. I'm tired with everything and so on, but I have a feeling that black is at least all right here already. So queen f2 is a great moment for you. After queen f2, I do believe white is better, simply better, an advantage. The question is just how big this advantage. Okay, so let's play the last game today. I'm really exhausted, so the last game goes to just a second, Miktal. 1600s, come on my friend. Miktal says move 17 plus 174. Yeah, it was very bad for black. I told you guys. E3, yeah, let's play b6. Something unusual. I just want to achieve something like a hedgehog pawn structure, more or less. Okay. And to see how it works. So c5 now. And to take with the knight. That is exactly a hedgehog for black. And white didn't play e4, which is, I think, rather an advantage for me than achievement for white, right? White has less space. That's the point. Now it is a very interesting moment. I think I can afford playing e5 because with this move I just make white's bishop very passive on h2, and at the same time this pawn actually restricts the knight. But the main idea is of course to make that bishop passive. So knight here. If I don't take the knight, probably white will try something like bishop f3. I can try f5 here, I think, but why should I make it complicated when I have a chance to make it just easy? Takes d2, takes d2. What to do now? Where do I want my queen? Somewhere on e6, but if I play queen d7, then c5. Yeah, so let's play queen c7 instead. Well, put white's bishop on b2 instead of h2, and I would say white is even a bit better. Or maybe complete equality, but bishop is on h2. I think it makes a difference. Queen c3, so potentially exerting pressure on e5. So I think it's time to play f6. My bishop is also looking stupid, but at least I have a chance to play d5 at some point. White has more problems with activating bishop h2 than I have with activating e7 bishop. Still very interesting position, of course. So queen b3, c5. Is it a threat? Not really. I have d5, but it gives white some counter chances, so I would rather prevent it. But I don't know where to go, to f8 or h8. Let's put it on h8, just for a while. Where do I win my queen? On h4? No. Not this time. It's enough. E4 is being prepared. After which, white could be even better long term, right? So I've actually prevented with the f5, because now e5 is not that hanging. Yeah, f5 should be played, for sure. Bishop here, okay. 5 is hanging, so let's protect it. And e4 anyway. Well, reasonable play. I'll take it. Oh, it was a mistake. It was a mistake for me. It was a serious mistake for me. But maybe I have some tricks connected with the b5 now. Just for now, right? Because there is some pressure on the c file. If I don't... Oh, come on. Come on. It was a blunder of the show, right? It's a checkmate already. Yeah. So, yeah. I'm sorry to win again, but, well, what can I do? So probably taking with the bishop, well, it looked very good, very natural, but we can see that after b5 I have a concrete trick, right? So you can't take on b5, which means I probably win a pawn, simply. Next move, taking on c4, and your bishop is still on h2, looks very, very bad, right? So you should actually avoid such a pawn structure in general. So maybe I played not good, and I do believe I played not good, but generally, if black manages to do this thing, I mean to have pawns d6, e5, and your bishop is on h2, black is doing very well. So instead of taking on c5, I would recommend to keep the pressure, maybe to play bishop h2 immediately, just to avoid everything connected with e5 with the tempo or something, and then gradually prepare something like b4, maybe not even gradually, maybe playing b4 next move, exerting pressure on black center. So you want black to take on d4, let's say, to simplify a position, in which case you will have a choice, right, to take with the knight or to take with the pawn or something, rather than taking yourself, because you lose a central pawn and you lose a great portion of the control of central squares. Okay, guys, thanks a lot for being with me this night. It's really late already, and well, thanks a lot for your patience. I tried to play new guys today mainly, so I think that newcomers were more or less satisfied with my choice today, right? And yeah, premium members are welcome next Tuesday to the next episode of Training Tuesday. I will analyze in details one of the recent games, not played by me, but of course one of the recent top games. I won't tell you which one. It will be kind of surprise. Maybe not very good surprise, because the game was quite well, noticeable. But still, I think it is very, very instructive, and you will learn a lot from this show. If you're not a premium member, it's time to become a premium member to have the access not only to my own show, but also to the vast majority of premium features of Chess24. They are really great. Yeah. Yeah, have a nice weekend. Just as usual, take care. Bye bye. See you next week.